All right, everybody, welcome back to the Fourth and Football Podcast. I am Jacob.
I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Ricky.
All right, guys, we're going to dive in again like we do week by week into the previous week of football. We were well lucky to be blessed with the games we got to see last week. You had the Falcons game. You had the Bills-Texans game. It was crazy football all week, so I want to dive right into it. Wyatt, I'm going to let you take it over.
Yeah, so like Jacob said, great games all week. Great game Saturday, too. It was just a great weekend for football. But I want to start off with Falcons-Buccaneers Thursday Night Football. The Falcons take a 6-point win in overtime. What are y'all's thoughts on that game?
I mean, both teams played great. I said coming into it last week that this is going to be one of those games, the last team to get the ball was going to win the game. Baker played okay, but Kirko took it away with 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks.
No picks.
One pick.
Four touchdowns, 1 pick, 509 yards. Hell of a performance. His 31st comeback in the fourth quarter or overtime.
The third
big-time game from Kirk.
Third time he's played well in prime time this season.
Yeah. Atlanta Kirk Cousins is
he's different.
A little bit different, I would say so. I like to see. I think I called it. I chose the Falcons in this one just because they were at home. I liked Kirk at home. I like the swagger they got going on. They got some real playmakers. Darnell Mooney, that relationship he's building with Darnell Mooney and Kirk Cousins is real. That's a dangerous wide receiver core, dangerous backfield. Drake London had a huge game. And then to walk it off with the guy.
Kevin Hodge.
Yeah. Walking it off, 45 yards?
Yeah. Yep.
Taking it to the house. Cole looked like everybody's moving in slow motion. He was just gliding past him. It was crazy. Great game.
Had that breakaway speed there at the end.
Daryl Hodge. Yeah.
That brings up the question, though, like, overtime rules. Do they need to just do the playoff rules in the regular season or just keep it how it is? And
I kind of like the way college does it, if I'm being honest, but I think that's just being selfish as a fan because you want to see the best football game possible,
Yeah, I would say do the playoff rules. I mean, we've seen it already a couple times this year where the other team's QB is also having a great game and doesn't get to touch the ball in overtime to get his chance the team to win. So, yeah, I would say probably go to the playoff OT rules because I would have loved to see what Baker did with the ball.
Yeah, because honestly, I think he had a great game. Baker did not disappoint. He didn't lose in that game.
both offenses played well.
Yeah, they played really well. It was an exciting game, explosive game. It's really one of my favorite games of the year. I'm excited to see what this division has moving forward. They're both 3-2. It's up in the air. At the same time, the Saints, we can't really count them out. It's going to be an exciting year of football in the NFC South.
All right. Next game, over in London, an 8:30 game. So I don't know how many people watched that game, but I know me and Jacob were at Waffle House to watch that one.
Bright and early Waffle House.
But Vikings beat the Jets 23-17, and Aaron Rodgers threw 3 picks.
Yeah, he's looking what he's looked like his last full year in Green Bay. I think this is the reality of who Aaron Rodgers is. I don't think he is who he was previously. It's kind of crazy to see the lack of adaptation to the modern way the game is played modernly offensively. Aaron Rodgers is really reluctant, I guess, to change it, and it shows. It shows. The results are showing. You have a good defense. The offense is not what we hoped it would be.
I think you hit the nail on the head there where Aaron Rodgers isn't wanting to adapt to modern NFL. Reminds me a lot of like what an iPhone 4 was back in 2011. The best thing to ever happen, for a couple of years it was amazing. You had the best technology you'd ever seen.
Yeah.
Now you see all the phones are probably modeled by that, but really that iPhone 4, you look back at it, you're still missing things like seeing text messages and good camera quality. Things you don't really look at back then, but now when we have, the iPhone 15s and all the modern technologies, it's kind of just falling on the wayside. But you'd still say the iPhone 4 is one of the greatest phones of all time.
Yep.
And that's Aaron Rodgers to me. I mean, you're going back and looking at Aaron Rodgers, he's probably one of the top 3 quarterbacks of all time. But playing today, he's just not it anymore.
He plays like he still did when they won that Super Bowl a while back. I agree with you. It's a great take. Aaron Rodgers, it might be time for him to hang it up.
The Jets offense, their first 3 drives of the game, they only threw the ball on 3rd down. You can't win the football game only throwing the football on 3rd down.
I think that comes back to Steichen, who they brought back with Aaron Aaron Rodgers
Oh,
from Green
Hackett.
Bay. Or Hackett,
Hackett,
sorry,
yeah.
who they brought back from Green Bay,
I mean,
just making him comfortable.
They're trying to make. I feel like his Aaron Rodgers being comfortable is hindering the Jets' offense from going to becoming the offense everybody hoped it would be. It's an outdated offense, outdated play caller. He did not succeed in Denver. Nathaniel Hackett was rumored to be going to be fired. Coach Saleh was going to fire him, and we all know how that turned out. Do you guys think there is some type of connection, or is it a coincidence that as soon as Hackett was rumored to be fired, Saleh gets fired? Do you think Aaron had a hand in this?
I think Aaron has had a hand in everything being done in New York. I think they're going to get Devontae Adams more than likely, especially. I think Hackett's about to be promoted to the head coach.
Well, they promoted Jeff Ulbrich,
They did.
the coordinator.
DC.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I think Aaron Rodgers had his hands on that organization too much, just like he did towards the end of Green Bay.
Yeah.
I think he had his hand in it too much, and we've seen you don't win football games that way.
I think Saleh is a solid coach. I mean, he's going to have a job next year.
Yeah.
What do you guys agree with that?
He'll
I mean, he could get picked up this year.
He'll
Yeah.
be a DC somewhere.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
going to definitely be a DC somewhere. I think we're looking at this as the same situation we look at Carolina. We talked about a couple weeks ago. Organizationally, the Jets have been terrible. The only organization that's probably worse than them is the Cleveland Browns. And if you look at it from 2000, when the Cleveland Browns came back to Cleveland in 1999, the Jets are the only other team who haven't hosted a playoff game since then.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You hit that on the head, too. They're poorly run organizations. I mean, Woody Johnson doesn't even tell Joe Douglas, the GM, that Saleh's getting fired. Reportedly, Saleh had to be escorted out of the building. It's just poor handling all the way around.
I mean, there's a reason why Bill Belichick left a week into his tenure at the Jets.
Now, what do they expect? They expect Ulbricht's going to lead them. The offense is going to start clicking. They win this coming week, and now they lead for the division. And then, are they just worried about that? Is it a short-term fix, or what do y'all allude to?
That offense hasn't looked good since Mark Sanchez was the quarterback.
I mean, I think I saw a stat that they have the same record as last year and the same number of points scored. And we have Aaron Rodgers behind center, and you have Zach Wilson last year.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed offensively.
There's no progression. We thought,
There was less turnovers last season than there has been this season for their offense also.
and that's wild to say because we thought Aaron Rodgers being what Aaron Rodgers is, or who he was at least, would bring a next level to that offense to where this would make them a Super Bowl contender. Are they pretenders?
They're definitely pretenders.
I would definitely say so. I mean, especially coming into this week, it's a key matchup for them. I think they're playing for first in the division, aren't they?
They are.
They are.
So why would you fire your head coach going into this long week? I think they're Monday night too.
It's just back to what you said. That organization is just so poorly run. I don't feel like they know what they're doing half the time.
Yeah. Agreed.
Well, on to the next game. Personally, I think this might be the best game in football all season so far. Ravens-Bengals, 41-38 finish in overtime. Both QBs have 400 total yards. One throws 4 touchdowns. The other one throws 5.
Yeah, that was probably one of the most exciting games I've seen in a long time. Lamar was at his height of his ability in this game. Derrick Henry, even him, who can do amazing things himself, was flabbergasted by what Lamar was doing. And then you had a great performance by Joe Burrow on the other side, who is quietly, statistically putting together the best season he's had of his entire career. It's just not resulting to wins, so nobody's talking about it, which rightfully so. But it was one of the best. That's why we love the AFC North, because of these matchups that you get out of these teams. They play each other hard. They play each other big.
Normally, it's not that high scoring though.
It's normally not. It's more of a low-scoring juggernaut game. But this was an exciting game. Very impressed by Cincinnati's. Like if your quarterback puts up 38 points, your offense puts up 38 points, the defense has to answer. I get it. Lamar was playing like MVP level, but you need one stop at least.
I think Lamar looked like he did last year and the year before. MVP Lamar, just greatest quarterback out there right now. But Joe Burrow looked better. And for them to go out there and lose this game, I don't want to put it onto just one drive because your defense has got to stop Lamar sometime. But the last drive of the game, they had the ball. It was a 53-yard field goal from where they were. They run the ball, got nothing, run the ball, got nothing. And then they run the ball again, not trying to get a first down, just settling for the field goal at an OT to win the game. A 53-yarder isn't easy. I mean,
No.
we see Aubrey and Tucker and Fairbairn making those
50
easy,
Yeah.
making it look easy, but that's not a chip shot
I
for
mean,
sure.
And they have a great kicker.
And
Yeah.
It's not like they have a bad kicker.
One
back
of the
there.
highest paid kickers.
And then you have Joe Burrow, who's lighting it up this whole game. I mean, why not try and get a first down, make it easier for your kicker?
I mean, Jamar had 200 yards and Higgins had 92.
Mhm.
You could have went to either one of those guys. and
Clearly,
got
the
at
pass
least
game
10
was
yards.
working in that situation. I agree with you. Why are you not making it as easy as possible on your kicker to secure the win?
I think that comes down to coaching, though.
Yeah, another mishap by Taylor that we've seen recently.
He's a bad coach.
But I don't think the Bengals are going to move from him.
No, they're not going to.
They stuck with Marv Lewis for years.
They are a type of organization that even if they are poorly run too, we've talked about it in the past. They're also the type of organization that will stick with a guy for a while if they've had mediocre success with him.
I mean, Marv Lewis would get him to the wild card, seem like every year, and then they'd lose to the Steelers, the Patriots, or whoever was their first round matchup.
This team's almost reminiscent of that old Marvin Lewis Bengals team. Star quarterback in Carson Palmer. Got a couple stud receivers, Hoosh
Like
Manzada and
Ocho.
Ocho Cinco. Kind of defense was hit or
Lacking.
miss. Yeah. What do we expect of the Bengals moving forward?
I think a wild card exit, like you said. I mean, it's reminiscent of them.
Yeah.
I don't think they make the playoffs.
It's not looking like they're going to
They're
make the
1-4.
playoffs.
Not this year, but going forward, I think they're just a fringe playoff team.
I think you got to get rid of the coach. I know y'all said y'all don't think y'all will get rid of him. They'll get rid of him, and I don't think either. But you have a good football team and a coach that's bad at coaching football. Why do you keep the coach?
Understandably so.
Just organizationally, I think the owner's like not to say poorest, but I think he's the one that has the least value.
Yeah.
I think he's the only one that's not considered a billionaire. Coaching, you can just move him in, slot him in and out. It's not like cap space. You can just throw money at coaching where
Yeah.
you look at like the 49ers or Cowboys, even though they don't really do it. They can just throw money at a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
So you
someone
see
like
the Chargers
Bengals,
are a prime example. I mean, you're not working out next coach in line.
yeah,
They do it all the time. And they still got to pay the guys they fire on
Mhm.
these contracts. They don't care because the owners have money.
yeah.
They just
The
pay it.
Bengals just don't have that money. And it's a sad fact of reality, but got to pay to win.
True. I do want to give Lamar his credit, though. I've said it on the podcast earlier this year. Lamar just chokes in the big game towards the end of the game, and this game he proved me wrong. He went down and had drives to keep them in the game and win the game.
That's
I wouldn't call it a big game, though. I mean, I would call it a division rivalry, so it's a tight kind of a big game, but there's nothing on the line here. It's early in the season. It's just good old-fashioned football division rivalry. I think that's all it was. I think if this was a big game, we would have seen.
I think it was a big game for one team. and that
I
was the
think if this
Bengals.
was a big game, we would have seen the roles reversed and similar outcomes, but Cincinnati would have came out on top
Mhm.
because we've seen Joe Burrow do it.
All right, on to the next game. A game I know Jacob's going to be excited to talk about. Texans beat the Bills 23-20. Josh Allen goes 9 for 31. Jacob, I'll let you start it off.
This game. It started off really like I was yelling, I was screaming at the house when CJ hit Nico deep for 67. Texans started off really, really hot. It was good to see. They slowly kind of teetered off a little bit, and Josh Allen, started to come back, bring him back slowly by slowly. I was nervous at the end, don't get me wrong, but CJ's the type of quarterback to where he's gonna get you in a position, he's gonna make the right throws and win the game.
Couldn't put it better on CJ's part. Looking at it from the Bills' perspective, they looked good for most of the game. I'd say they really fell apart there at the fourth quarter. Again, I hate to boil these games down to just one drive, but so many one score, one possession games is what it comes down to. Josh Allen thrown in his own end zone when they could just run the game out and play for OT, having to punt back, and the Texans get it in very good field position to where they really didn't have to move the ball much to get a good field goal for Fairbairn.
Yeah, that was bad coaching, I would say, on that
Mhm.
on that side of the ball. And then the way also they poorly mishandled the Allen concussion.
Yeah.
Once he realized the game was winnable, he went right back out there way too soon. That's another topic, but I agree with you. That's bad coaching and that situational awareness. That's where the coaches defer between D'Amico and then
I mean,
the
that
Bills head coach Sean
comes to a
McDermott.
bigger thing. I've seen the NFL do this for multiple quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, they did it for in a playoff game. Joe Burrow looked like he had a concussion one time. They put him back in there.
I remember that one.
It's just, it feels like for some people there's a little bit more leniency.
Yeah.
And especially for the quarterbacks who drive the offense.
I think it depends on the game.
Yeah.
If we're talking about division clinching games, playoff games, they're a lot more lenient in the situations, especially for entertainment purposes in the NFL. But overall, I mean, I wouldn't jump off the Josh Allen train yet. I mean, the guy's still a freak. He did only have 30% completion percentage in this game, which is nobody's ever done it at that rate.
This is his worst game since getting Diggs. I mean, are we gonna bring that up that Diggs maybe was that security blanket that he had, or is this?
I think we've seen.
Is this what we might have to expect Josh Allen's floor is? Whereas whenever he had Diggs, he would still at least 50%.
Well, this has always been him, though. This has always been his flair. Yeah, he played Diggs this time and an ex-player on the Texans now. But this is always what we've gotten from Josh Allen. Games like this, maybe not this low completion percentage, but games like this, and then we get the highest of highs.
I mean, this was maybe rookie or second year Josh Allen, but we're 2 weeks ago we were saying, man, Josh Allen looks amazing.
But nobody's going to play like that all year round. You're going to have games like this. That's why I'm saying don't jump off the Josh Allen train yet. He's still going to have amazing. He'll probably do it this week. We're like, wow, look at this. He does it all the time. But I think it was just more of a fortitude the way the defense schemed around him. Made him throw from the pocket instead of letting him escape a lot, and it resulted in lower completion percentage in this game.
All right, moving on. Giants beat the Seahawks 29-20. A really shocking game. I don't think any of us saw coming this way, especially me. I'm a Giants fan. I was telling Jacob before the game, I was like, yeah, we're going to lose by 20. The Giants defense looks like the real deal. I mean, we have 22 sacks right now. We're leading the sacks department in every team in the NFL.
I mean, when you play the Browns, you get like 7 of them. That happens.
Yeah, Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau are producing. Dexter Lawrence is looking good.
Dexter Lawrence is a game record.
Yeah, the defense is starting to look like we thought it was going to in New York. Malik was out this week. No,
Malik
he was out, and they still got the win. That's what the real surprise was. I mean, arguably, you have two number ones there. Wan'Dale Robinson starting to look like he did his rookie year, but better.
Darius Slayton had 130 receiving yards.
Darius Slayton,
the worst receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, you know how I feel about Darius Slayton. I hate Darius Slayton. I still don't like Darius Slayton. I still want to trade him, but he caught the ball this week. I mean, coming off 4 drops against the Cowboys, it was good to see him actually catch the ball. Our rookie running back, it's time for Singletary to hit the road. Our rookie running back comes in first start and has 130 rushing yards. Yeah,
it was an impressive outing against a pretty good defense on the Seahawks. Daniel Jones is playing pretty good football. He's not producing a lot, but he's not playing losing football either. No. I wouldn't say.
No. Wasn't that running back from Ivy League?
Purdue.
I mean, how old is he?
23.
23. Oh, so you got your future.
We got our running back.
You got your running back.
Yes.
They're a dime a dozen now. The running backs are going to draft another one next year. And you're like, who's this guy?
I thought they were supposed to keep Saquon.
No.
Were we talked about that last week?
No. I said it from the first pod episode. I'm happy we didn't keep Saquon.
But it's scary to see that. I mean, we're talking about the Giants get their shit together. The Dallas Cowboys could end up in last place in the division.
I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I said it last week, and y'all were like, come on, the Giants are losing that division. I don't know if the Giants
I still stand by that.
Division.
I stand by that until I see otherwise. But, I mean, it's not as big of a jump as
we have an easier record than the Cowboys, and our defense is playing winning football, unlike the Dallas Cowboys. All right, moving on. Last game of the week, I want to touch on Chiefs-Saints. The Chiefs find a way to get it done, and the offense looks great, even without Rashee Rice. I feel like that was the best we've seen, the best game the Chiefs have played so far this season. And Juju had 130 receiving yards.
Yeah, I mean, Ricky talked about this the other day. Juju's comeback game. Personally, I feel like Juju's capable of this because he's a good veteran receiver. It's a great game in Juju's terms, yes, but he never lost a step. He was just playing at the Patriots, and all the receivers look like that over there. But it goes to show we were speaking previously about the Chiefs offense and the Andy Reid system being kind of like the 49ers kind of Shanahan system. Can you kind of just plug a guy in there, and as long as everybody's executing, you're going to have results.
I think if you look at the Juju game this past week, I was looking at the route tree that he had on Pro Football Focus. It was very similar to what Travis Kelce normally does, that middle work and trying to get to the outside and really lining up against linebackers. I think he's kind of filling that role since Travis is slowing down. I think defenses are still respecting Travis, but
And Travis had a big game.
Travis did have a better game, but I don't think he's feeling the Travis role. He's doing what they had Rasheed doing, lining Rasheed up against, scheming him up to be against a linebacker.
Yeah, because Rasheed did over 85% of his snaps in the slot so far this year.
Yeah, it's just a plug and play system.
so you're
and-
saying Juju's filling that same
yeah,
role?
and then we
Okay.
saw the results. I mean, the same thing would happen, maybe even more if Rasheed was playing last night. I mean, you have one of the best quarterbacks, arguably the best quarterback we've seen, orchestrating a system that's been perfected over 20 years in the NFL. Won 3 championships behind it, behind a head coach who has a developing mind constantly. It's never settling. You're going to get this result with anybody who's a good veteran player.
I want to touch on the Kelsey. Kelsey might be slowing down, but that pitch play is something we've seen Kelsey do, I think, every season. I mean, we don't see teams do what the Chiefs do. I mean, we see crazy plays from Mahomes, and Kelsey seems like every week.
That's just confidence I think they get from playing the game at the highest level, the best, winning the championships. They do things other teams won't because it's easier to them.
I mean, what other team's going to do a hook and ladder at the end of the or at the end of
That
half?
wasn't even a design play.
Yeah.
No.
Kelsey just
I mean, we
did
saw
it.
the Lions do it with Amon Ra and
Yeah.
which was, I mean, executed perfectly, but some teams do, some teams won't.
All right, so the big headline over the weekend wasn't even a football game. It was what happened the days after. Robert Saleh, as we touched on earlier, was fired by the New York Jets after 4 seasons and having a 20-36 record as the head coach.
I truly don't understand the Robert Saleh firing. You didn't get to pick your quarterback when you came in. You got shelved with Zach Wilson, who became a bust. Your defense, your side of the ball defense, your defense coach always produced, was always the top defense in the league. The play calling was always lackluster on the offensive side. You handled your side. You did your side. Head coaches, they're either offensive, defensive, and John Harbaugh's case, special teams. And they always take care of that side of the ball. None of the head coaches take care of both sides of the ball. They might talk to their individual player, ergo Belichick, Tom Brady, but they didn't. They took care of their respective side of the ball, what they were good at. And he's bearing all the blame for years lack of no performance last year. The Aaron Rodgers, they didn't get to see any Aaron Rodgers this year. Aaron Rodgers underperforming behind schedule. He bit the bullet and he suffered from it.
I think Robert Saleh, he's a good DC. I wouldn't call him a good head coach yet, just because he's only had this opportunity. I could see him going to a different organization and flourishing. But this is definitely organizational. I alluded to it earlier. This organization is probably the worst run right next to the Browns. They consistently do this with their head coaches. There's a reason, like I said earlier, Bill didn't stay there, but for 2 weeks. He went to a divisional rival and created a dynasty that they had to watch happen.
Yeah.
And then I see these headlines that, Vrabel might take the job or Bill might come out of retirement. They're not going to want to run a team that's got Aaron Rodgers out there that's always – I love hearing him on Pat McAfee, but he's always talking way too much on there about his team.
Yeah.
And then you organizationally or even inside your team, when you have 2 of those clashing voices, as a head coach, you've got to be able to shut down that clashing voice. But with Aaron Rodgers being there, I think he just had too much
He has too much
power.
power. He
Yeah.
has too much. He has a really good relationship with Woody Johnson, the owner. And the first thing I saw, what came to mind, first thing that came to mind when I saw Robert Saleh was fired was Aaron Rodgers is the new head coach of the New York Jets. That's all I could think of. I think it's going to be a disappointment of a season, and somehow, some way, Aaron Rodgers will be able to spin it in the media to where it was somebody else's fault because that's what he does.
It sours me on my perception of Aaron Rodgers, because before, I'd say this season, I would have called him top 4 all time. But after this, where does he rank on y'all's guys' list?
He's still a great talent. I'd probably keep him top 10. But he's always been him and LeBron James are the best media manipulators I've ever seen when it comes.
At least LeBron wins, though.
I mean, yeah,
You know?
yeah. They're good at what they do, though.
LeBron wins basketball.
I mean, you better win 40%.
He plays better when he was 40 than Aaron does.
That's true. LeBron's great. 4 out of 10 championships is cool, I guess.
Yeah, I saw the Robert Saleh coach. I saw him getting fired at some point. I mean, we saw when McCarthy and Rodgers started having their problems. McCarthy was gone.
Yeah, I kind of want to give you your props on that because I think you alluded to it a couple weeks back about potential coaches being fired, and I did not think this would be on there.
I said it last week.
Yeah,
Did
I
you
believe
think he
you
was
said
gonna be
something
the
about it.
first
I
one
called it
fired this
last
I
year,
didn't think
though?
he would be the first
I
one.
said
fired
the end
at
of the
all.
season.
Yeah.
That he was gone. But yes, I did call it.
You were on that.
Yep.
So.
So I'm gonna be honest. When I saw it, I was not surprised. Defensive-minded head coaches aren't winning football games.
No, they're going extinct in the NFL. I
Dan
mean, you
Quinn.
got Dan
there's
Quinn,
Dan Quinn.
D'Amico Ryans.
Other than that,
these are leader of men,
no.
though.
Mhm.
You hear from every time players, organizations around them when they're a part of that. These guys know how to connect with men and lead men, and people want to follow them. They're likable people.
Yep.
If you don't have that quality and you're a defensive coordinator, you're probably not going to have success in this league.
I think Saleh is a great defensive coordinator, like you said, but I don't think he's a good head coach. I mean, yes, he might be a good leader of men, but anyone can lead men to 20 and 36 as a head coach. I mean, he never had an offense that averaged 20 points per game and never produced a single
Look
top
what he was given.
25 offense.
Look what he was given. Woody
We-
Johnson was calling, we're drafting Zach Wilson.
I mean, you have Aaron Rodgers this year, and your numbers look the exact same than when you had Zach Wilson, and you go and you get guys.
It's early in the season. Nobody's worried about going to play Jets and Zach Wilson. Teams legitimately playing, although we got to play the Jets and Aaron Rodgers. I guarantee you there's a difference in there. It's early in the season. I think he got canned. He's a scapegoat. It is what it is. I liked him. I think he did. This is the best the Jets have been, at least the more relevant the Jets have been in the last 4 years than they've been in the last 20 years, since at least until Mark Sanchez was the quarterback.
The thing that really got me, though, is we've seen coaches with a horrible offense put 20 points per game up or have a top 25 offense. Matt Nagy had the Bears with that offense with Mitchell Trubisky.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just bad football. Your defense has always been great. You would think, oh, a great defense is going to put us in good field position, which it did, and you still can't score the ball. That's just,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I think Aaron Rodgers is underperforming, but I think we saw the flash 2 weeks ago, and we were all like, "Oh my god!" Because when it works, it's the most beautiful thing to watch.
That was against the Pats.
yeah. And the game
True.
started off slow that game too, really.
True.
All right. Key injuries. We're going to just touch on some injuries and how you think it'll affect teams.
Nico Collins out for 4 games, injury
Mixon-
reserve for the hamstring.
Mixon might miss more time.
Yeah, they're saying he might be out this week too. I was hoping he'd come back, but I'm fine with it. The Nico Collins injury, I need him to heal up, get ready. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get him see him play against the Jets in New York, but on Halloween night, I was hoping to see him live in action. But I'm gonna miss out on that. But I need him to be healthy because these next 4 games are all winnable games with guys out, and I need at the last end of this everybody to be healthy.
I know Nico's really been y'all's number one guy, but I think missing Mixon has hurt y'all more.
It has hurt us more. The offense has been a little less powerful. There's no run game really to develop in behind it. The number 33, I cannot say the guy's name, Rugawale. He's done a decent job filling in. He scored the go-ahead touchdown.
But Cam Akers, him and Dameon Pierce are
They're-
not the.
Damian Pierce isn't even getting playing
Yeah.
time. There's definitely a difference between Joe Mixon and these other guys.
I mean, when Joe Mixon was there, like, wow, he had 140 rushing yards. I mean, putting up numbers, the offense looked like the best offense in football.
Yeah, it did.
And then since then, it hasn't looked great.
So what is Mixon's injury?
Dude, I personally don't even
It's-
know. I think maybe an ankle.
I think it started as like just lower leg, and then they narrowed it down.
I
to
don't know
ankle, and
exactly
it's
what
just-
it is. The offense hasn't looked as good. It's definitely kind of off key a little bit, you can say, but they're still winning games. They're finding ways to win. And these were a couple good games. They lost against the Vikings, but these are a couple good teams that we played. And going forward, the schedule gets a little bit easier next 4 games. So if these guys need to get healthy here, I'm fine with these injuries being right here.
Who do y'all have this week?
Patriots.
Yeah,
Drake
you don't,
May.
You, don't,
Okay.
you don't need either one of them. You
No.
do have the Drake May
I
Patriots
do have the
this
Drake
week.
May Patriots this week.
Hey,
Y'all
y'all
wanted
wanted to see that.
I
Y'all
did
are
want to see
going to
that.
destroy him. That's not a defense you want his first game to be against.
No, it's not. We see what we did to Caleb Williams when he came to town. He got crucified. Hoping they do the same thing this week to Drake May. But Drake May is I think a lot better than people I think this rookie class quarterbacks, a couple of them are a lot better than people. We're gonna look back and like they had some guys in that class.
Bo Nix is playing very well.
Yeah, everybody's starting to starting to read the defensive of the NFL. Everything's starting to slow down for them. You can see it. You see it in Caleb Williams, Jalen Daniels. You can for sure see it. You're starting to see it in Bo Nix a little bit. It's just a reality now. I think it's going to be a better game Drake May than we expect. I think he's going to have a decent game, but I think the Texans going to go on the road and do what they got to do and shut
I
this
think
thing down.
Brissett's in by the second half because they're like, just get me out of there.
I think that offensive line is going to get murdered.
I think they're going to get May out fast because they're going to be like, oh, he's going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully. I'm not going to try to
This is definitely a way to kill a rookie QB's confidence by throwing up against a defense that just held Josh Allen to a 9-31.
That's a bigger thing we didn't talk about. 931. He held Josh Allen to 185 total yards.
Yeah, I want to touch on this because I called the defense shutting out the Bills last year.
You did.
I didn't expect it.
I feel like this Texas defense, we're seeing a top 5 defense in football so far this season. I mean, we alluded it towards it on the first episode. I mean, that this defense was
definitely have high
hopes
hopes for the defense. I think the guy we got from the Vikings, I'm blanking, Daniil Hunter, they're paying a lot of attention to him. Offensive lines are, and he's not getting as much production right now, but he's getting pressures.
Well, that's massive for pass rush in
It
general.
is massive.
If you can draw
Other guys are
two-
benefiting.
Yeah.
You're seeing Tim Settle Jr. get sacks. You're seeing Will Anderson get sacks. Every other guys are benefiting from it. I think they have a long way to go defensively, but if this is where they're starting out, offense is hit or miss, but you're winning games, and the defense has big games where you think they're a top 3 defense, and then some games they're suspect. This is how it starts out, and you're winning games like this. When they all get it together, I think it's going to be a scary team.
I also think y'all have the defensive rookie of the year on y'all's team so far with Kamari Lassiter.
Kamari Lassiter is a fucking dog. 100% grade A, cold-blooded dog.
Y'all's best corner.
No, he's not the best corner.
He's
But,
y'all's
I
best
mean, it's great to have that problem to think that we actually got 2 good corners now. And Kalen Bullock is a fucking dog,
Yeah.
too. That guy's, they hit.
And Petrie, I told you this after watching the
Petrie.
game. I said, y'all have some fucking menaces on that team.
The Houston secondary is full of menaces.
You got dudes diving over, doing power bombs in the game. You have Petrie diving headfirst into Josh
Yeah.
Allen. I mean, this is a fun defense.
Calm
to
down
watch.
on the Texas glazing over here. Come on, guys.
saying.
No, it's a fun team to watch.
It
for
is
sure.
for sure.
Some other key injuries. Not Neighbors could be out this week. I mean, the Giants have the Bengals. A game where we might need them, might not. You don't really know.
I think y'all win that game.
I think
This
we might win
game's winnable
game.
for the Giants.
Yeah, our defense is good, and Zach Taylor's their head coach.
I think
so
you're
feel
gonna
good.
need neighbors out there though.
Yeah, I do
100%. We forget they still have Trey Hendrickson on the side out there, Sam Hubbard out there.
But
They got some guys who can get some pressure. You're gonna need some
our
weapons
line
out
has
there.
been good this year, so.
It has been a lot better. It's very well improved.
Parsons out. Looks like possibly 2 more weeks.
Dude, if you ask me, Michael Parsons has been out for the whole entire season.
yeah, I mean, he hasn't
His
really
performance has
produced.
been lackluster. He has not been anything.
He talks too much on his
He talks too much,
podcast.
and I don't see it in the game no more. Micah
talking
Parsons
on
is starting to
podcasts?
look
Yeah.
overrated. Especially, I mean, you're out now for injury, but I haven't heard anything about you all season.
Yeah. And
All
then
season.
you want to go out and, be buddy with CJ Stroud on your podcast, and you want to talk all this shit, and you play like shit. I mean, come on, Micah, get your shit together. Last injury, Derek Carr. It's Spencer Rattler time in New Orleans.
It is Spencer Rattler
Excited
time.
to see it.
And
Excited
Derek
to see
Carr,
it.
you will never get in your starting job back.
You think so?
I think Rattler's going to be the guy. I've been high on Rattler since Oklahoma, and I was high on him with South Carolina. I think they have a guy.
He looks good in the preseason too.
He did look good in preseason, but I think they're gonna wish Derek Carr was healthy after this game.
Who does the Saints play?
I have no idea.
Buccaneers.
Buccaneers.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. It's not.
I mean, they're not going to win this game. Don't get me wrong. They're not winning this game. But I think Rattler shows flash. I think Rattler puts up.
I think he's gonna be.
20
I think
plus
Rattler's gonna be
points.
one of the quarterbacks of this draft class that doesn't develop into anything. Just a career
No.
backup.
I think he'll be nice. I think the career backup is Bo Nix. All right. So upcoming games for
Whoa.
next week. We got 49ers at Seahawks. And the Niners are favored, even though the Seahawks are at home by 3.5 points. Thoughts on that game?
Well, I want to start it off by saying Brock Purdy's normal. Brock Purdy's exactly what I thought he was, what I always said he was. You take the weapons away, he's a below average quarterback. He's shown it the last few games. They've been losing. They're 2-3. It's just a system he plays in that's amazing with full of ballers on the team, and he just has to make the right reads. Don't get me wrong; he's good at what he does. I think he's a good quarterback, but he's nothing special. And I can see the Seahawks taking this one away.
I do think the Seahawks win. I'm kind of shocked that the Niners are favored 3.5 points at home. I mean, Seahawks have a better record and have looked better. Other than the Giants game, the Seahawks have looked good every single game.
Which, if you think about it, I mean, over the last 5 years, I think the Seahawks lose to the Giants like 60.
Oh yeah, we have their
of the
number.
time.
It's like back to when we just beat Tom
I
Brady.
don't know
all the
what
time,
it is.
you know?
Yeah,
Aren't both teams coming off losses here?
They are.
So the Niners come off a divisional game, and then Seahawks, of course, come off the Giants, like we've been talking about. I'm leaning towards the Seahawks, like you guys, especially with it being, isn't it in Seattle?
It is.
This one being in Seattle, the fan base always loud, always a factor in these games.
Geno
He's
averaging 300 yards a game.
Geno's been looking amazing.
leading passing yards in the NFL
Jackson
right
Smith
now.
and Jigba is finally emerging as that great number 2 wide receiver that they needed him to be his rookie year.
They got a great run game.
They got a great run game since K-Walk is back. All of these line up for a great Seahawks win. Even though we see all this stacked up, I think we still need to talk about the 49ers defense. I mean, you still got Fred Warner, still got all those pass rushers there. This one's going to be a close game.
I think it's going to be a better game than it advertises
I
as.
think it will be another Seahawks high-scoring football game like we've seen for this season. I think the Seahawks, they just have a bad defense. I mean, I have not been impressed.
Which is crazy.
I haven't been impressed at all by their defense.
Witherspoon has
this season.
regressed this year.
Yeah, Witherspoon's regressed. I thought Woolen was going to emerge and be like a top 10 corner, and he hasn't looked great either.
And they were injured all over that defense,
yeah,
too.
I mean, how do you let Darius Slayton light you up?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm gonna call for the Seahawks to win in a 30-point game by both teams.
I think it's going to be high scoring, yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd probably be a high scoring. I could see 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns each on each side.
Is that the Thursday night game?
It is.
Ooh, so we get to
That's a
watch
nice
that.
little Thursday
It
night
is.
treat.
Ravens Commanders. Baltimore is at home and 6.5-point favorites against the Commanders.
This is my favorite game matchup of the week. The schedule makers did their thing on this one. They cooked on this one. They were banking on Jaden Daniels being as good as he is right now, and it paid off. But this is going to be a good game to watch. We're going to see what Jaden Daniels is really made up. I think the Ravens going to go in there. They feel like they're still being doubted. They're going to play hard. I really want to see what Dan Quinn, how he's able to lead these guys, and Jaden Daniels' response to getting, because he's going to get hit in the mouth against this Raven team. I want to see. I don't know where I'm going on this one at all, honestly.
I think the Ravens are, and now you could say the Commanders on the other side are few teams that can actually experiment and play against someone that has that type of speed of quarterback.
Yeah.
Because you have the Commanders quarterback who's crazy fast, and you have the Ravens quarterback who we've seen be the fastest player on the field all the time.
Yeah, the best running back of all time.
But like he looked against the Browns. I mean, the Browns see Lamar Jackson twice a year, every year for the past, I think, 4 years now since he's been in 5. God bless, he's been in the league for a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah. So the Browns know well how to play against Lamar. They've always played well against Lamar, and they didn't look good against Jaden Daniels.
It's similar play styles. I think Jaden Daniels, we all think he's a better passer naturally than Lamar is. But you make a good point that the defenses go against these style guys every day in practice.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the Commanders' defense will have something for Lamar. Maybe they do know how to play him. Lamar is 20-1 against NFC teams in his career.
I think a lot of that comes from them not expecting.
Yeah,
that
it's not
speed.
familiarity with playing against the guy. But you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take the Commanders by a touchdown. I think this is the game that we actually see we can actually take the Commanders serious. This is going to be the game that they win. Like, okay, they're legit.
I'm going to take the Ravens by 10+ in this one.
You always call that 10+ on these close games.
Yeah, I mean, Ravens at home, Commanders. I mean, yes, they're 4-1. They look good, but now they're playing the Ravens. They're playing a real Super Bowl contending football team, and it's going to show.
They're playing the Ravens, who are 2-3.
Yes,
3-2.
3-2.
3-2.
3-2.
But the
With
Ravens started
two
off
pretty
slow.
bad wins.
I mean,
Losses. One bad win.
I mean,
this offense is rolling. Like
Yeah.
we've been saying, The Commanders are not going to stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I think that's your big X factor.
They're not
They
gonna
have why? They have Frankie Louvu. They have Bobby Wagner. They have the tools to do this. They have Emmanuel
Manuel Forbes.
Forbes on as a corner. They have the other guy. What's his name? I cannot remember his name. Is off the top of my head. They have a decent defense, and they have a great defensive coach.
I think the Ravens just have a better team. I think
The offensive line on the Ravens is suspect. We've seen it all season.
I think the Ravens kill him.
I don't think they kill him.
I think they kill him.
Bro. I think this is a Ravens win. What's the spread?
6.5 point
Six,
favorite.
I think
to
they
the
cover.
Ravens.
I don't think it's 10 points though. I think it's a touchdown.
Yeah, but yeah, give me the Ravens. I mean, I just don't think this Commanders defense is going to be able to stop this offense.
So you're the only one on Washington.
Yeah, I'm giving you Jay Daniels and the Commanders to upset Lamar and the Ravens.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but
No. All right, next game, Bills and Jets. It is in New York, and the Bills are only 2.5 point favorites.
In New York, well, I mean, New York, what? Buffalo, New York, or New York?
No, New York Jets.
Well, that's in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
Don't do all that.
just like your Giants are in
New Jersey. Yes,
yeah.
we're in Rutherford, New Jersey.
All right, so it's going to be in Rutherford, and the Bills are favorites by 2.5.
Yep.
So, I mean, they're favored to win. This is going to be a good divisional game. I think we're going to see a Josh Allen bounce back game here. You're shaking your head, but you had the Jets winning the fucking division at the beginning of the year. I had the Bills. I think the Bills are going to run away with this one. I think there's going to be more questions to be answered on the Jets organization and from Aaron Rodgers after this loss to the Bills.
I mean, give me the Bills plus 10.
Yeah.
Though I wouldn't be surprised if the defense was reeling. The Jets defense is reeling from last week and shuts out.
I think the Jets defense is just going to shut down out of protest, honestly.
But, probably not. They like Jeff Ulbrich over there. They're really high on him.
I think the Bills win, and I think we start to question why the Jets fired a defensive head coach to hire another defensive head coach.
He's just an interim. He's just the guy who took over the good voice in the organization. I think that they liked the most at the time.
Yeah, I think this Jets team, haven't looked good this season. I think they're playing a really good Bills team that are going to be hungry for a win. And, I mean, they just fired their head coach. I don't think they're going to be ready or prepared, and I think Josh Allen kills them.
The only advantage the Jets have is that they get an extra day, that being the Monday night game. But even there, I don't see them being able to implement a game plan fast enough with a brand new head coach to stop this Josh Allen's offense, especially coming off a bad game against the Texans.
And this Bills defense has looked good all season, too.
Except against the Texans.
So
I just throw that in there, right?
They drop that in there real quick.
they looked all right against the Texans. They did not look. They looked pretty good against the Texans
They got burned.
at the beginning of the game. When Nico's out, the Texans looked one-dimensional.
Tank Dell and Mechie may step out.
Hopefully.
Mechie,
Not even Stephon?
not even Stephon.
Stephon just needs to keep doing what he's doing, being a reliable dump-off choice to CJ, getting the first downs. The Texans are first and third down conversions. They have the most 3rd and 10
Oh
conversions.
my God. Are we back on the Texans
Bro, I'm
again?
just saying, bro.
Moving on. Last game I really want to touch on. It's Lions and Cowboys. It's in Dallas, and the Lions are 3-point favorites.
Rightfully so. This Cowboy team is suspect. They're pretenders. They're not. I mean, the same thing they are every year. This Cowboys team is probably the worst Cowboy team I've seen organizationally, structurally, in the locker room, and probably the last 5 years, I would say. It's not looking good. I could see the Lions really shutting them up and winning by 14 plus.
Yeah.
I think we need to talk about that Cowboys game. I mean, yeah, they won, but their defense didn't look like they got any pressure on Fields at all. The only reason they really got a win there was because Fields kind of threw away the game.
They got a little pressure on Fields.
I'm going to
It
disagree.
seemed like every single snap, though, Fields had 5-6 seconds back there. The only improvement that I saw from this Cowboys team out of this win is that they stopped a running back that I said looked tired about 2 weeks ago.
I'm going to disagree. That was the most pressure Fields has had on him any game so far this season, statistically. So I think there was plenty of pressure back there, even with Micah and DeMarcus Lawrence out, which really makes me question the Cowboys even more. How do you barely win a game when the other team's quarterback is running for his life without your two defensive guys, and your offense puts up 20 points, and you really get lucky at the end of the game? Y'all recover a fumble because it really looked like y'all were going to put up 13 points.
The Dallas Cowboys.
They're the worst team in their division. They're overhyped like every season, and their next 7 games, they're projected to win 2 out of the 7.
America's team.
Yeah.
I think it was a poor situation to do it in, but Dak answered some questions. You know, he rallied them back. They did make a comeback. They did win the game, but unfortunately, it's for a Steelers team that we don't have a lot of hope in.
No.
It's a good story to start the season, but we don't believe them to go very far.
Do you think they switched to Russell?
I don't.
If I would, I mean, I
Why
think
not?
if Russell Wilson's in that game, the veteran poise, does he win you that game?
I think they look better.
They look better, and I think he puts them in a better position.
I don't. I
You're
still
forgetting the last time we saw Russell Wilson play football full season in Denver. He was better than Aaron Rodgers was his last year playing full football for the Packers. He's still a veteran quarterback that can lead. He just doesn't have the crazy arm talent or the speed anymore. But that you didn't require that in that game. You required a veteran ability to go down there, orchestrate,
I think
and finish the game
the
off.
Steelers' big thing was losing Warren. Like, what was it, the day before the game?
Yep.
It was. I mean, I thought that they were going to get 100 yards each just because Warren is that much explosive, makes the defense play a little bit different in the run game. Whereas with Najee, he's just getting 3 yards. That's all Najee does.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they replaced Fields. Fields is a top 10 in QBR so far this season, and that's with the receiving core for the Steelers being ranked last in separation yards per route. So not only does he have a bad receiving core, he's still putting up solid numbers and
He's
has
putting up
2
solid
turnovers
numbers
the whole
'cause
season.
they're not making him do too much either, though.
I think there's a behavior
They're
problem.
playing him like a rookie. They're not overcomplicating the offense. That's a big reason for the lack of separation because they're not scheming up as they should because they have to keep it simple for the guy. Now they're not asking him to do too much, and he's doing exactly what they're asking of him. But against decent teams, I think we're going to see like the Cowboys, who we think they're a joke, but we know they're a decent team. They're not going to be able to win these games, and that's why we don't fully believe in them.
I think that separation thing comes from George Pickens just looking like he doesn't want to play football half the time. He
Wait,
gives up on routes. He's
That may be one player, but
It's bad. They don't have weapons.
They don't have
on that
weapons, and
team.
their only weapon that is there is a head case. I mean, this very reminiscent of how the Steelers normally are, but this time they don't have Ben.
yeah.
Well, moving on. Want to go over our contenders and pretenders section. Well, we touched on this earlier in the podcast. Some different teams we have faith in, and some teams we just think are starting off strong that are going to burn out. Jacob, what's your first pretender?
My first pretender? The San Francisco 49ers. I think they're pretenders this year. I think we're going to see a little bit of regression this year. I think I chose them to go pretty far originally in the season. I think injuries, this is going to be like a couple years back when they had Nick Mullins playing quarterback for most of the year. They won 4 games, I think, that year. Injuries going to kill this team this year. I mean, you got Pearsall, you got McCaffrey possibly out for the whole season. Debo's missing time. Injuries are killing these guys. You still have Dre Greenlaw out. It's going to kill the season for these guys. If they were all fully healthy, we'd probably see, a resurgence again, a NFC Championship, Super Bowl appearance. But they're pretenders. They still have a stacked roster, but I think overall they're pretenders. And if they don't have all their guys out there, they're nothing more than maybe wild card exit team.
Ricky, who's your first pretender?
I'm low on the Eagles. I think a big thing is the injuries, but another thing is coaching. I don't think that they have the guy there to really lead them to the promised land. But the Eagles are the type of team to make a move quick. But from what we've seen, he's not been able to hold that team together. Hurts seems like he's taken a couple steps back this year. I think I've alluded to it being A.J. Brown not being there. But defensively, we thought they were going to at least make an improvement this year.
But at least in the secondary.
At least in the second. And they just haven't.
They haven't.
Coming out of that division, though, they may get second place. I'm really high on the Manders now. But you would think going into this year that they would have easy games against the Manders, easy games against the Giants, and then split the Cowboys. Or at least that's how I looked at the Eagles. And now I can't say that. I think that the Giants are a better team than we thought they were going to be going into the year, and the Manders are a way better team than we thought going into the year. could see a world where these Eagles don't even make the playoffs.
I can see that. I think it's going to be whoever wins that division is going to be scratching and crawling to get that division win, and the second team to come out of there is also going to be scratching for a life for a playoff berth. I think it's anybody still, but the Commanders look like the real deal. They went and got Devin White in the offseason. The Eagles did, and then they just released the guy.
He hasn't played.
He didn't play for him. He said it was injury, then he said it was non-football injury. I don't know what was going on there. Maybe that alludes to the disarray in the building. But that's an all-pro caliber player you kind of just let go. For what reason? He was hoping he was going to fill the gap for the poor linebacker play like they had last year. I don't know what's going on in Philadelphia, but they got to figure it out soon.
My pretender is a team before the last 2 weeks we were calling arguably the best team in football. I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills as a pretender.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we saw them beat the Cardinals, and they looked great. We see them the next 2 weeks get some more wins, but then we see them finally go play two other actual contenders in the Ravens and the Texans. And not only do they not win those games, they don't look good in those games.
Yeah, they looked small in those games. You could tell the gap there for sure. When it comes to preparation between the two teams, pure talent, and just maybe even just wanting to play, like the will to play.
That defense hasn't performed like it did the first 3 weeks, but also, I mean, you beat the Cardinals, you beat the Dolphins. I mean, you beat bad football teams. You didn't beat any really good football teams. And then you go play the Ravens and the Texans, and you get killed. I mean, you get killed at the beginning of the Texans game. Nico comes out, and you still can't close out the game when you had positions to win at the end of the game. And then the Ravens, you don't have a chance from the kickoff. It felt like the game was over.
Ravens big bro everybody, it seems like at some point in the season, though. All the teams that are rolling on a buzzsaw, they run into the Ravens, and they did it to the fucking 49ers last year. Yep. I mean, Brock Purdy was looking like MVP, and then he ran into that Ravens defense.
I think the Bills still don't have to do much to win that division.
That's the thing, yo. Yeah.
Jets organization is in the shit show.
Yeah.
The Dolphins, I mean, who knows if Tua's going to play again this year. And then you have the Pats, who just are now starting their rookie quarterback on an offensive line that's, I think, ranked 32nd.
Well, whoever wins this game is, I mean,
they're divisional leaders.
Division leader, but yeah, for week by week basis.
I think the Bills have time that a lot of these other teams that we talk about don't. I think they have the time.
I think
that
the Bills, if they can
don't.
just lean on what they're strong and win the games, they should win. They'll easily win this division and possibly secure a 2 or 3 spot in the playoffs.
I just think playoffs come around, I think you barely get the division. Realistically, I mean, you might get the division, but I think you're the last seed. I don't think you don't have a good division. You get to the playoffs, I think it's going to
they're a 4 seed.
Yeah. And I think it's going to show in the playoffs, the difference between the Texans,
I could see them win a divisional game. I mean, a wild card game. But that's it.
Yeah.
The way I look at the AFC is teams that I think can go into Arrowhead for the AFC Championship and win that game.
Or into Baltimore. I think there's only a few games, and the Bills aren't built for that.
Maybe I'd see them win 2 out of 10 in Arrowhead. But
so do y'all think? I think the AFC is a 3-team race. Would y'all agree with that? The Texans, Ravens, Chiefs.
Right now, yeah.
As of right now, yeah, I would say 3-team race. Chiefs clearing everybody right now because they're playing like shit and they're still winning games overall. You can say the same about the Texans. You can start to say the same about the Ravens, but it's going to be whatever team figures it out and stays healthiest at the end of the year.
Moving on to contenders. Jacob, who's your first contender?
The Houston Texans, Super Bowl contenders, baby.
We're back on the Texans again.
I mean,
here we go.
They are. They're true contenders. They're ranked in some rankings second best team in the NFL, 4th, 7th, whatever you want to rank them. People and teams are scared to play the Texans. Even when in these close games, you have a quarterback who's poised. You have an offensive coordinator who's dialing shit up. Little behind the scenes mockery going on. We don't have to have all our guys out there. A couple years ago, you needed every person you needed. The Texans they can beat anybody. They're built to beat anybody. And they're not even healthy. They're not even healthy right now, and they can beat anybody in this league.
Ricky, who's your contender?
I mean, if we're going to talk about our favorite contenders, let's go ahead and talk about Baker Mayfield's Buccaneers.
Oh hell no!
Nah, but honestly, even with this loss against the 49ers, the Falcons, Baker Mayfield looked great. That team looked pretty good. Little hurt on the defensive side, but nothing season-ending over there. I think that they're a well-built team in a division where if they come out with the first seed in it, they're going to be Super Bowl contenders. Especially in the NFC where it is wide open. I mean, coming into the season, we thought it was going to be the 49ers thing to take, but really coming out of the NFC, who do you have else?
The Buccaneers are the same team that got spanked by a rookie on a comeback game-winning drive in the beginning of the year last year. I think it was week 6. They're that same team.
They're not the same team.
They're good when they play these NFC teams. Don't let them run into a buzzsaw in the AFC. You'll see the difference.
Well, who do they have to play to get to the Super Bowl?
Give me the best team in the NFC as my contender that can beat that team. Give me the Detroit Lions. They have looked like the best football team in the NFC.
I think that's going to be a great game when they play.
They're arguably the best football team in the NFL.
Yeah.
Best their brand of football,
weapons everywhere.
Is you can see it on when you watch it. It separates from other teams. It's hard nosed, still flashy, a lot of speed. Jared Goff when they're rolling is poised, is in the pocket. I mean, 18 for 18 in one of the games. I mean,
doesn't happen
in a perfect game in the NFL, which is video game stuff. They're probably one of the scariest teams in the NFL. I would not want to play them if I had my team in the playoffs going against them.
I think the Lions roll through the NFC throughout the season, and I think they're going to roll through the NFC in the playoffs.
When did they play the Vikings?
Yeah, that's what I was going to get
I want to see the real strength of the Minnesota Vikings, and I also want to see
if this Lions is who we say they are.
Yeah.
Aside from the Lions and Vikings, really, who do y'all have coming out of that NFC? Like,
I think it's wide open. It's legitimately wide open. Any team can.
The Falcons?
The Falcons, maybe. I think the Buccaneers, but
the only team I truly like,
maybe the Manders
would
even
put my money on 100%. If I was a betting man, would be the Detroit Lions at this point. Even though we've seen this great run from the Vikings, and they week by week we're like, yeah, they're the real deal. In the back of my mind, I'm not all the way convinced. I think I'll take the Lions.
I think they are the betting favorite for a reason because of that.
I don't know what it's going to take for me to. I'm the same way with the Vikings. I think it's mainly because I'm not used to Sam Darnold being a good football player.
Even this last win, he didn't look good, though.
Well, we're not used to the Minnesota Vikings. They're hot in some seasons. They play good games. But when do we ever take them serious as like Super Bowl contenders?
You know the last team to go 5-0 and miss the playoffs? The 2016 Minnesota Vikings. Just throwing it out there. I don't think that it's going to happen to this Vikings team. I think they're going to do very well, but Sam Darnold didn't look good against the Jets, but
they still won.
It's a London game.
I
don't count those really as much as I would a home or away game here in the States. But maybe Sam Darnold's starting to...
Could be a miracle run in Minnesota.
I will say their defense, I mean, they've been the best defense in football for a reason. That defense is the real deal.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Trade talks are starting to heat up. We hear about it every day now. Trade deadline around the corner. Give me one trade y'all want to see made this season.
I want to see the Buccaneers go get Greg Newsome. I would love to see that, strengthen that secondary. If you're going to make a run here, if you're the Buccaneers, if you truly believe in Baker, you believe in this team can make a run, you got to go get some depth. You got to strengthen your weakness in that secondary in Tampa Bay.
I got to agree. I mean, I think that's their biggest weakness is probably that secondary.
I would love to see D-Hop go to Kansas City. To me, D-Hop he reminds me a lot of Larry Fitzgerald. Just solid guy that's going to continually do his work, stay quiet, and get 1,000 yards, and you don't even know how he did it.
Seems like a Chiefs guy to me, too.
He's very, very much the guy that would buy into a system like Andy Reid's, be there to do his role and do it well.
Seems like a marriage made in heaven, especially at this point in D-Hop's career.
I mean, he's performed with terrible quarterbacks.
I mean, he's single-handedly responsible for getting Deshaun Watson $230 million guaranteed, if we're being realistic.
Yeah.
I mean, D-Hop had maybe Schaub at the beginning of his career.
He's had, a plethora of quarterbacks, most of them not capable of actually winning games in the NFL. You had Kyler Murray at the end, which the relationship was what it was. It was hit or miss. You've had Will Levis and Ryan Tannehill. You still produce with 1,000 yards, I believe, with both of those guys.
The best QB he's had is P. Diddy. I mean, Deshaun Watson.
It's Deshaun Watson, and those were great years for both of those guys statistically.
Maybe bring him back to Cleveland, but I don't.
I think at this stage,
No,
you got guys.
I want to
hurt.
see him win a ring.
At this stage, I agree with you. Kansas City, you got guys hurt. You got positions to fill. Go try to get a D Hop.
My trade, Hassan Reddick in the Jets. Obviously, it's falling apart. Get him on the Falcons. Falcons have 5 total sacks this season. They're the lowest,
Which is
pass rush.
crazy with
Yeah.
the line they have.
I mean, they have Matt Judon.
yeah.
So
Brady
I mean,
Jarrett.
you go get Hassan Reddick. Teams can't focus on Judon anymore. Now you'll have Reddick and Judon off the edge with Grady Jarrett in the middle. I mean, that team's already a contender. You go seriously get them a pass rush to help this defense out with already a good secondary.
I'd say top 3 in the league
Yeah.
secondary.
I mean, that team's going to be the real deal if you go get a guy that's going to put pressure on a quarterback finally this season. Yeah, I think that's the perfect place for Hassan Reddick to go try to get to is the Atlanta Falcons.
I agree with that. I think that's a good trade. They need to find somebody. The pressure isn't what it needs to be. They have a good secondary, but you cannot give a quarterback all day. This is also a team that could potentially make a run. Go get you a rusher.
In a wide open NFC.
Yeah.
I think the NFC, you're going to see a lot of teams in the NFC probably buy at the trade deadline, which means that a lot of teams in the AFC are probably going to be selling. Who do y'all think is going to be a seller?
A seller.
A seller.
I'll
The
start it off.
Miami Dolphins.
Yeah.
I think the Dolphins are going to be a big seller, especially if they realize this year's kind of canned. They need to make some adjustments. You could see Jalen Waddle on the market. You can see Jalen Ramsey on the market. You can see a few guys, the safety they have, who's been an eye for some of these
Holland.
teams. Holland. You can see guys like this on the market.
I think the biggest sellers out of the AFC has probably been the most disappointing team in football, and they have weapons. The Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
I think they try to sell some of these pieces on their team. Whether it's Mac Jones going to a team that needs a quarterback. I mean,
Get rid of Josh Hines Allen.
yeah, I mean, Josh
Gabe
Hines Allen,
Davis.
Gabe Davis, Christian Kirk has been rumored to be on the trade block. I
Mhm.
mean, Travis Etienne even maybe.
Maybe
Who's
I've
the
heard
first
him
round pick
rumored.
that they had that hasn't produced? Or first overall pick?
He's slowly producing. I mean, but
Yeah.
he had 3 sacks this week or the week before.
Week before Trayvon Walker.
He's he has been producing. He's
Is
a
he?
sleeper.
He
He's
has
not a
5
bust.
sacks so far this
Yeah,
season.
Oh,
he's not a
Yeah,
bust.
so-
He's just been a sleeper. He did progress really well last year.
I've been impressed with him so
Between
far.
him and Hines Allen, Josh Hines Allen, Allen Hines,
Josh
however you
Allen?
say- yeah, Josh
Pass
Allen,
rusher?
the first Josh Allen's.
Uh,
They have a good pass rush over there.
Another team out there I could see being sellers are the Indianapolis Colts.
I was one that I was going to
The
be
fucking
alluding to.
biggest bust ever,
I-
Anthony Richardson.
Man, people were hating on us when we made that comment, huh?
Yeah, Joe Flacco.
I
He's
think
looked
you
way
get
better than
Pittman out of there. You put him on a
Pittman.
different team.
Quentin Nelson, you
Quentin.
don't want to be paying a guard that much in a
Mhm.
rebuilding stage. And
No.
I think a team that'd be perfect for him, they've been rumored at him for a while, is go get Caleb Williams, some actual offensive linemen. You
Mm,
send Quentin Nelson over to the Bears. I mean, they have the cap space.
yeah,
They've been wanting him for a while, and they have that extra second round pick from Carolina just floating around out there.
that might
They
be
can
the
send
best
over.
one right there. I like that one a lot.
Yep.
All right, man. So what's been favorite game so far this season? You're gonna look back and be like, man, I remember that game back in 2024 when the so and so played the so and so. What one of those games have you seen so far this season? Because there's been a lot of crazy games this year. Your favorite one so far?
I'm going to go with Ravens and Bengals from last week. I mean, 41-38, 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and you get to see them put up 400 apiece and I think 10 or 11 total touchdowns in the game.
Yeah,
I mean, it was great to watch.
yeah, that was a good one. That's a memorable one for sure. I'm gonna go with the Falcons Buccaneers we just saw. Kirk O'Chain's doing 509.
Man.
Crazy walk-off touchdown in overtime. Baker Mayfield balling out, having all the attitude, all the swag, bumping heads with some of the other players. I liked it a lot. It was a memorable game. for me.
Imagine that game with the playoff overtime rules. Who knows how long that football
Yeah.
game would have went on.
Honestly, the only win that the Browns have this year is mainly because I don't know when we're going to get another one. I'm going to have to look back on week 3 of the 2024 season and be like, man, what a great time. We won a game.
Who'd y'all even win against?
It was the Jaguars.
Oh yeah, appreciate that one.
But yeah.
That was after y'all lost to the Giants, right?
Hey, I
Oh,
was,
yeah. No, it was before.
y'all lost to the
Yeah,
Giants.
because I thought we were going to win with that Amari Cooper touchdown. But
I want to give a shout out to a guy on TikTok. We post clips from time to time, and we posted a clip about the craziest stat we've seen. the Cortland Sutton Bo Nix stat. And Buddy was like, crazier stat, having thrown an interception to a guy that's dead. Talking about Trevor Lawrence throwing the picks to DeMar Hamlin. That may indeed be a crazier stat. It might have that one beat.
Yeah.
All right, man. It's been another fun week talking about football here with my boys. This is the Fourth and Football Podcast. I'm Jacob.
I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Ricky.
Peace out.